I'll have to, well, it's not, I can't bring it any nearer though. Can't.
Yeah, you should list it open Slack.
Yeah. Thank you. Right, good evening. May I welcome members to this July full council meeting, and anyone who's joining us online. And I also want to thank the Deputy Commissioner of Police, the Deputy Commissioner Cram. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you. So, are there any apologies?
Yes, I've got apologies from Councillor Clamp and Councillor Nixon.
And I've got Councillor Lord, who rang up earlier and said it was too hot. She wouldn't be able to get up here.
There's apologies from Councillor Butterworth as well.
Are members happy to accept those apologies? Yeah. Has anyone got a declaration of interest on any items on tonight's agenda? No? The next thing is the minutes of the meeting on Tuesday, 25th of June. Have I got any comments or issues on those minutes? Yes, David.
I've just got one question, actually. Item number 9, the recruitment update. Have they started?
Yes, they did actually. They actually started last week, and we're on a first aid course for the first 3 days. But yes, so now in place and starting to be trained up now. So.
Can I have a proposer then for these minutes of true and correct record? Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, David. All those in favour, can you please show? Thank you. The next item is public forum. Is there anyone here that's asked to speak on the public forum? No? Okay. We've got the next item is exclusion of public. To determine during which items, if any, the public are to be excluded from the meeting. Such an exclusion would need to be on the grounds that, in view of the nature and business of the business to be transacted, if the public were present, there would be a disclosure to them of exempt information within the meaning of Schedule 12A to the Local Government Act. Now, we do have something that's on the agenda. Well, it's not on the agenda, but it will be a private item. Okay. It's a staffing matter. Okay. Item 7, finances. To receive a schedule of payments from the 15th of June. Yes, David.
Yeah, just a couple of questions. I noticed on the list of payments, and the bigger than 1,000 as well, we've got a couple of large payments for PR and marketing. One to Peter Barton and one to the Scott Dawson Advertising. Are they all within our budget and plans for the Blue?
They are. Unfortunately, we are having to spend slightly more than we have done previously on PR, mainly because there was a slight issue. Obviously, we were late in announcing it in the first place, and the tickets were late going on sale. And then there was a slight delay in that, unfortunately, one of the PR people couldn't carry on due to illness. So we then had to commission another PR company to take over. So that's why you've got a mixture there. Yeah.
The second question is on the bottom of that first page, you've got a large amount page of the sum up people. Are that's sort of a payment portal thing, isn't it? Is that what sum up is?
It is. It's a payment method that other people will use, and you pay via sum up. Yeah. No, it wasn't. We were actually paying for something via that method. So it's not actually. Yeah, it was. It's equipment. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Is that everything, David? So can I have a proposal that we accept the payments for this period? Brian, thank you. And David, second that. All those in favour, please, can you show? Thank you very much. Lovely. So item 8 is speed management. So can I invite the Deputy Crown Commissioner for Lancashire to address us on the issues of SPIDs? I'm sweating.
Well, thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be in this town hall. I was a little overcome when I came in because I've spoken to a number of parish councils and town councils, and I have to congratulate you on having the absolute best. Don't ever lose this town hall. It's brilliant, isn't it? It's just the tops. So thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you for the invite to come and say a few words. My name is Andy Pratt, and I'm the Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner for Lancashire. Andrew Snowden took me on in August of last year. I think he took me on in false pretexts because he said, don't worry about this, it's only a half-time job. And of course, things expand, don't they? Because you want to get the job done. And so I have responsibility for two main areas in the county. One of them is criminal justice, trying to bring the police, the courts, the probation, the prisons, and the various support services together. And then the other area, which I think we're talking about tonight, is the Lancashire Road Safety Partnership, which has been in existence for about 20 years. It emerged initially around speed cameras and then has gradually taken on more and more responsibility. And tonight, the specific thing we're talking about is speed indicator devices, which are called, generally known as SPIDs. I have to say, it's a discussion I have at every single parish council. I think I've spoken to about 30 now across the county. I've been in every single district and unitary authority talking about road safety and doing some on the street advice. So I was in Forton last night with Forton Parish Council looking at particular roads. And I have to say, every single one of them, if they've not got speed indicator devices, they want to make use of speed indicator devices. You wanted me just to sort of outline the various processes. I'm led to believe that actually you have some finances set to one side that have been put to one side for the purchase, installation of speed indicator devices. Is that right or not right?
Just for clarification, it's not this council, it's Pendle Borough Council. So we're just looking at a way to have speed indicator devices across what we call the Cone area, which is Cone and its 3 villages. I know you've been to Lancashire Bridge.
I have, yes, and Trawden and a couple of other places as well. So yeah, the model then, if that's, I'm trying to get it clear in my head, the model then is maybe one town or parish council looking after the speed indicator devices for everybody. Does that be right? Well, you'd be breaking the molds, but 10 out of 10, if you can put, if that's the way you're going to do it, it's probably a very efficient way of doing it. So your devices, there is a policy from the county council around them, which has come out this year. If you've not got copies, I can send that to you. But basically the process is, and I'm pretty sure you will have already gone through this process, you've identified areas where they might be best used. I've just been chatting to a chap outside before this meeting regarding the A682. I'm sure you're completely aware it's one of the major problem roads in the county, coming from Burnley, Briarfield into Cole and then up to Kendal. And the discussion around speed indicator devices, because what they will do, So you, first of all, you have to find out where the best place to put them. Now, actually, Andy Pratt showing up and saying, well, I think they should go here and I think they should go there, probably isn't the best way of doing it, or even any singular individual. You could do with some actual hard copy data on it. One way of getting, there's various ways of getting that, but I would say the current county council process of using GPS data probably isn't your best method. I was just explaining that the GPS data on the 682 just here in Colne gives you an average speed. Well, all of us know that 3 o'clock on a weekday afternoon during school term, it's a car park mainly, isn't it? So if you're doing an average of 1,000 cars at 3 o'clock and then an average of 1,000 cars at 6 o'clock, you put the two together, you likely end up with a mean of about 27 miles an hour. So you don't get the proper data of where you're going to best be putting it. So there's ways of doing that, and I could explain that in a bit more detail. So you need to make sure that where they're going, because it takes a little bit of a process. So someone has to come out and have a look at where you want to put them. So outside the town hall, there are 4 bits of street furniture. One's got CCTV, one's got a light on it, one's got a road sign on it. They're not all capable of holding the new speed indicator devices. Some of them weigh up to 8 kilograms. They obviously have to be able to take whatever the wind's going to put at them as well. So there needs to be an assessment of an engineer, not me coming out going, I think that's a good one. So you need a proper assessment. So find out where you want to go. Find out if you've got the furniture to put them on. You can't put them on trees. You can't stick them on the side of someone's building. They need to be, there's a specification on how close they are on the road and the line of sight. So you might say, oh, well, this corner that people come around, we definitely need them on there. You actually need a decent line of sight. So there's a little bit of a county council engineer comes out and will assess if you've determined these are the best spots. Then there is the purchase of the devices. There are quite a few different ones on the books, but I would suggest if you want the least amount of maintenance, you go for one that is solar powered. Even the battery ones now will do up to 45,000 indicators. And some of the indicators you can program from home. So you can get very sophisticated devices where you can think, actually, I've got this on a 30-mile-an-hour road. Okay, we're going to have it flashing up if someone hits, and you can set what it's going to come up at. And you'll have seen them in some areas. If any of you want to, some of the parish councils are incredibly evangelistic about their speed indicator devices. And if you ever want to be convinced by someone, actually they work, and they do work on your average driver. Most of us are average drivers. Sometimes we go a bit too fast and we see them and it says 30 miles an hour, slow down, and it'll give you your speed. You can actually get them saying slightly different words, obviously not rude words, but you can get them saying slightly different words to encourage people to slow down. You know, slow down in Colne, or slow down on this road, or too fast. You can do other indicators on it, which that's your choice. So, and again, you could put them on a 30 or a 40 or a 50 or a 20 area, because you might determine actually you want them on a particular street, because would you believe I spend an awful lot of time talking about 20-mile-an-hour speed limits, but you could have one on there if need be. So identify where you want them. You need the county council officials to come out and physically pin down if you've got the street furniture. If you haven't got the street furniture, and if you're going to put one up, then you actually need, again, there's a little bit of extra cost. I'm not sure if this has been built into it, but you then have to have your own speed indicator device pole. If you want to see one in operation, Coppell Parish Council, they've paid for their own, because they determined the spot, and so they actually got their own, but not a lamppost.
Sarah, do you want to? No.
I hope she was nodding in agreement. So, sorry, where was I? Yeah, identify the area, get someone to come and have a look at them. I would say go for, you want the best value, but the least amount of maintenance are your solar powered, so you're not having to change the batteries. But as I say, the batteries now will do 45,000 flashes, which is quite a lot of flashes for a particular road. It'll probably last you nearly a year. well, we'd hope people wouldn't have to flash that many times, but I'm afraid the development in the county, I haven't had a look at the Colne area, but certainly vast amounts of the county, the house building that's going on, the people that are moving into the county, because it's an incredibly attractive place to live. So we're seeing more vehicles on the road because every new house is bringing 1 or 2, sometimes 3 new vehicles that are coming along. And some of our small villages are seeing nearly double the movement of vehicles. So identify your area, identify the spots, they have to come out and be assessed, and identify the best equipment to do it. So you can get speed indicator devices that you can actually plug into the mains. So if you've got a lamppost, you can get one of the officials to actually wire it in. So again, that could be part of your savings if you're looking at that, or the more expensive ones, I said, are the solar powered ones. But what they will do, and the real essence of them, I mean, as well as getting your average speed down for folk, is actually they will record and give you hard data. And what you need, if you're going to make some big changes, whether you want chicanes or road bumps or a change in the speed limit or any other significant road safety changes to the environment, you need hard data. Those speed indicator devices, if you get the right ones and if you get someone who can download, well, the download, it comes on an Excel chart. It's not that hard to see. If you want me to email you some of this data so you can have a look at it, Whittingham Parish Council, it's a little bit frightening, their data, but please have a look at it. So they've had their spids up, and we're going to have to do something really serious because the average speed it's a 30-mile-an-hour zone, but virtually nearly everyone is breaking it. It's really hard on them. And that's a small village in a rural village in the north of Preston. But if you want a copy of what the speed data looks like, it's incredibly useful because it comes out on nice graphs. It's easy to understand, and you can see this is exactly what we need. So if you're looking at, actually, you've put them up, and the average speed is slowing down. But what you're finding is at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday night, there's a whole host of activity where people are exceeding the speed limit. It means you can target the resources. So Andrew and I, well, Andrew particularly through the Chief Constable and through the various processes, are trying to get more officers onto traffic policing, onto tackling dangerous driving, of which speed is one of the main causes of collisions. It's not the only cause, but a combination of speed, using your mobile phone, or and lots of other means of distracting you will cause the collision to be even worse. So putting those resources in, but you want to use the resources when they're best to be used. So if you've got those devices up and you can say 6 p.m. on a Tuesday night, actually what's happening is there's a football game on, all the people off to play the football, they're the ones, right, okay, we can home in and use our prosecutions if need be at a particular time. So they're really good. I would argue they're really, really good value for money. Now, the model that maybe you're going for here is one of the town council, looking after them for the other parish councils as well. Well, that'd be brilliant if that could be possible. There'd have to be, obviously, someone would. The maintenance is minimal when they're up, especially if you've got either the wired-in ones or the solar panels. You basically got to clean the bird muck off them if that's the case. I don't know any that have been stolen in the county. And if you go for the battery powered one parish council is actually paying a private contractor £2,000 a year to do that maintenance for them. So there are other options. You don't have to go with one particular option. You're probably, the county council policy is saying to you, move them every few months. That's always the best because people get used to things. So you want a number of sites and you think, okay, I've got one here, I can move it onto here. But what I am finding is, it's like anything, especially when I go to I used to be in the police. I was in the police for 28 years. I retired, did 11 years voluntary work, and I've come back in this. But I go back to police stations and I say, where is this equipment? And someone says, oh, we've all changed. It's been in a cupboard and the like. Well, there's a number of town and parish councils. Penwortham, where I live in Preston, there are a number of these really state-of-the-art speed indicator devices. And I'm saying to Penwortham Town Council and South Ribble Borough Council, where have you got them? And they're in a cupboard somewhere that someone has put them out, or we've forgotten about them, or we're not using them. So please, if you're going to invest, if you're going to use them, they are some really good bits of kit. They will help you in many different ways. I don't know if that is any help to you at all.
We would like to see that data from maybe Whittingham or whatever.
Yeah, the more information you've got, the better. I mean, if you've not got the policy, I can send you that. I can send you the data from Whittingham. And I've also got a really good parish council chair from Altham who loves these things. He's a little bit over the top at times, I've got to warn you, but he's been an amazing help, because some parish councils have said, we've got them, but actually we've forgotten how to use them. He'll come round. He's a bit like, he does apprentices with speed indicator devices. He's even used his own for some parish councils that have still got the technical plates up. So all you need is the device to put up again. And he has some of his own that he's been helping other parish councils out. If you ever wanted him to come and actually give you a physical presentation rather than my verbal presentation, and he'd be very happy to come around the parishes as well as but really I can't recommend them enough. They're minimal effort for maximum output, which is what we all want in life, not maximum effort.
Sarah?
Just to give you the background for those of you that don't know, I know people like Alice know. Essentially, our thought was we have some of the back plates, but we don't know what SPIDs did fit. And we got the money for a computer for the police to download the data, 5 SPIDs and 20 backplates. Then we held a meeting. What we have here are at least 5 racetracks. They're not ordinary people. They are sort of late at night, serious. They're those people. And so we identified the racetracks. We have the racetracks sorted out. And obviously we're ready for the next phase, which would be seeing on those tracks where the best locations would be technically. However, obviously, although we've got the money, the police won't buy these SPIDs. So we need somebody to own them, somebody to insure them, somebody to maintain them, somebody to potentially recharge depending on the technology used, and somebody to relocate them. So it is a job that none of the parishes wanted to do. The SPIDs would be bought by Cone Area Committee, so therefore we would be expecting somebody to own them, insure them and look after them. It could be, because the parishes don't want to be involved with them, that there's a potential here for this council to recharge, Foulridge pay this, Lancashire Bridge pay this and Trawden pay this, and that helps ameliorate the cost. But it is a thing, those of you that have come to the Cone Community Safety Partnership, it is every single week. We've got people running around. We've got them on those sort of quad bikey things with no helmets on. We've got them on scooters. We've got things that shouldn't be on the road. We've got high performance cars. And the only way to sort of focus the police is have that data. So it is a responsibility for Cone Town Council, it is a cost for Cone Town Council, but I hope you'll see it's a benefit for the residents of Cone.
Yes, Sandy.
Yeah, I hadn't realised it was just 5. So 5, often some parish councils that are smaller, because Cone will be about 14,000 people, and then if you add the 19, and then if you add the other parishes around it, you're probably getting up to somewhere around 25,000 maybe. So some much smaller parish councils of 2,000, 2,500 people have got nearly 5 of these SPIDs themselves, and they invest that time. Once you've got them up, it's not a big deal. You need some public liability insurance, as you would if you were doing anything, if you were putting a sign outside the town hall, and then some individual within the town council. The other parish councils use volunteers to do this, but I'm happy to try and persuade some of the other parish councils if they want to join in. But I think your point that actually you could charge them if you had a member of staff. If I was being selfish, I'd say you'd keep all 5 on your spot, and if they wanted them, they've got to pay for them, but that's something else. It's cone area, right, okay. But yeah, no, if I can help in any way in persuading folk to take them up, then I will do.
I've got David, Councillor Clegg wants to speak first.
Thank you, Chairman. I think, first of all, what we do need is some more information, obviously, because there's obviously a resource implication, and that's twofold, really, because there's a resource implication financially. There's also a resource implication, possibly staff-wise, depending on how much our staff are expected to do and how much of it would be done by volunteers on a volunteer basis via the town council. And can I just point out to yourself that I have been involved in 2 or 3 bids in the scheme previously. They were in Yorkshire and they were sponsored by a rather large housing association. And initially we put them up and we had them triggering wrongly. They were in a 30 limit and we thought it was the bee's knees thing, and they triggered about 22. So people could tell when they were doing 22, 23, all the way up and over 30 or whatever they were doing. And we thought that was brilliant because it emphasised to people that they were doing under the speed limit, which we thought was brilliant. And then we found that the batteries weren't lasting very long. And by tweaking the trigger point to 28 from 22, we found that the batteries lasted more than twice as long without a recharge, because it's surprising how many people are doing 25, 26, 27 mile an hour. And if you're monitoring a 30 limit, there's no point in triggering, is there? And we found that the actual resources needed in actually going around and changing the battery for a charged one was actually half what it had been previously. And I think there is a lot of savings to be made on it by having the triggering. I don't know whether you'd agree with that, but that's what we found.
If you've got your solar powered ones, or the built-in ones, they cost a little bit more for the battery ones. Say the battery ones will do, they've upgraded them now, they'll do 45,000. But you're totally right. And that's the advantage now is that actually you can move this fairly quickly on the laptop as well. You make a really good point about you make a really good point about maintenance and movement. So what I'll do is I'll get you some more information from another parish council to say how much time is Andy Pratt taking each week or each month or each 6 months. What's the cost commitment? Probably the best one I can use is one that is paying. They're paying a private contractor, and they need to know how much time this person's investing. I actually think they're getting ripped off, but that's something else. Because I've said, I'm sure they have got battery ones, but yeah. So let me get that cost for you, or the time cost, because you can determine your own staff costs or volunteer costs. So that would be really useful. But you're completely right about moving the times. They're way less. You'll not be able to move the wired in ones as quickly, and the solar panel ones weigh a lot more. So the point you make's pertinent.
David, you had a question.
Thank you. Yes, following on from what Sarah said about the actual kit. Obviously, we've got 5 cameras plus 20 plates. So we'd identify the rat runs, put the 20 plates up in the right places using the right street furniture, and then obviously, as you say, rotate the cameras. We probably put the bid together well over a year ago now, and obviously you've mentioned several things to consider there. So if there's any information you can give us about what's a good model, because I think ours were from Unipart, just over a couple of grand each. So you're quickly up to about 11,000 for the kit. It's a good thing to start with. The other thing was the thing about the fact that who gathers the data. So this was where we had to buy a laptop, because the police didn't have a spare laptop or any computer, and we said, What about having an iPad or a tablet or something? No, you can't use one of those. You had to get a Surface Go, I think it was, we were looking at. And then we had to get a protective cover for it as well in case you dropped it. So it's all there prepared. We're thinking of every eventuality to make it as robust as possible. So you wander around, you can point the thing at the device, gather the information, produce the big spreadsheets, say Tuesday 6 o'clock is a rush time, or Friday at 11 o'clock, and then we can gather it from there. So I think we've got things ready to go. That's the capital purchase. That also included an installation and training day as well. So that was from the company. But again, whether they're the best supplier these days depends on the experiences over the last year or so.
Well, let me turn this round for you. I'll turn it around in a week, if that's good for you. So if I get you the policy, I'll get you the data from Whittingham, so you can actually see what the data looks like. Theirs is probably the most easy to read data, because it's all changed over the years. It's actually very, very easy on this particular SPID data. I'll get you the preferred provider for it, and I'll get you the average time it would take to service one over a year. I suspect we're talking few hours here. So yeah, but if I turn that round for you in a week, then you've got your hard data to work with, if that's okay.
Yep.
You won't, the police, I know we've had a bit of conversation about the police using the police in Lancashire won't operate them anywhere in the county. That's the Chief Constable's very clear on that. He says, and I actually think it's much better for community ownership of them. It gets more buy-in from the community across the patch, more people, because what we've got to do is change the culture of driving, without a doubt. There are 80,000 people a year caught on those GATSO speed cameras, and it's only going up, it's not coming down. So prosecutions are one way of doing it, but actually we've got to try and change the culture as well. Yeah.
Brian, do you have a question?
I've only one question. I think it's for Sarah. Are the cameras, are they solar, or I presume they're battery?
Ones we were looking at were battery, but I think, as over a year has gone on, I think it makes sense to look again at the market and choose the best ones for us.
Yeah, it's changing all the time. As you can imagine, solar panels for houses have been 12,000 and now they're down to a few thousand because the technology is constantly moving. Let me get you let me get you 3 different varieties from bona fide providers, and I'll turn it around in a week for you.
Brilliant. Any more questions for Andy? No? Well, can I thank you so much for giving up your time and your experience that you're telling us all this information. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and I want to be here when you put the first one up.
Okay, thank you. Can we go on to item 9? Item 9. Is there anything are you going to do that? Huh? I know.
So this item was basically just to determine which of you haven't yet updated. Liz. Yeah, Kevin, have you, or do you still need to do it? Oh, right, okay. The next week or so. Yeah, right. No, okay, that's fine then.
Okay, can we move on to the next item then? Item 10 is commemoration to Tony Greaves. Very sadly, his plaque and everything got vandalised and taken away, and I don't know where it's gone. So the family are wondering if they could put something similar here in this town hall. Got any comments? Yes, Sarah.
I think the simplest thing to do would be to build on the little committee room that we 3 were just in. We had training on bins before this, because at the moment, there's a little, I'm not doing you down, Gina, but it's a sort of, not a very permanent little story on the fireplace. And I think with the picture and the details that were on this Pendle plaque, then I don't know where it would go in that room, but I think that fits nicely with the fact it's called that and so on. I think it's very sad about the woodland. They removed every single plaque. They even removed the little ones.
Anybody got, we've got David and Howard.
Thank you, Chairman. I think Sarah's right, and providing weight isn't a problem in fastening it onto anything, I think probably the most suitable place for it might be on the chimney breast above the fireplace.
Yeah, Howard?
Sorry, my initial thought was having it somewhere a bit more public, in inverted commas, so that when people came into the building, they saw it, rather than tucked away where only people who are either working in the building or attending meetings would see it. But I think, first of all, there's all the questions of what it's. I assume that the artwork that was on the one that has ended up wherever can be reproduced, because
Phil Rowley said they've got it all. It's pretty easy to.
Well, I think the first thing is we agree in principle, and then once we know, because I'm trying to remember the size of it, and it's fairly. I don't know. It was that big. So I think, once we know the dimensions of it, and as David said, the weight of it, we can actually fix it, and we could put it next to Mr. Ridioff's lieutenant's, whatever it was. What was he? The one in the corner, forgotten his name, Alderman Ridioff. I always knew him as, when he gave us all an extra day's holiday from school.
Right. Sarah?
I think we need to be hidebound to metal or anything like that. And in fact, Phil Riley just sent me for something else entirely, actually for Ball Grove, a very nice series, different company, of sort of wooden framed sort of cases, really. So I think that it's going to be inside. I'm not worried about it being rained on or anything like that. So I think that we could spend time getting the right thing. And obviously we can print it off at any size because the artwork exists digitally. It has to be red. But we could almost choose the frame first and print it to fit. We could even. I
think he was talking about. Did he mention a firm that would? The one in the wood was a metal frame, and he was saying we could put a wooden frame around it. And I'm not sure, but I know he has.
He sent me actually all the suppliers for this only yesterday, so I can forward them to you, and they'd be better, I think. And we could even not necessarily be stuck with that, I mean, we could go on eBay and get a sort of gilt frame. We could choose, couldn't we?
I don't think he'd like that.
Well, we could choose the appropriate frame once we decide what the optimal size is.
The other side, as you come in the front door and before the doorway you can't get in, there's a big area on the wall there. But I don't. Well, we need to. I think are we happy to agree that we're happy to have it in the town hall?
I think as well we have to take the family's views into consideration as well.
Pardon?
We have to. It's not working. We have to take the family's views into consideration.
Yeah.
Suggest, Chairman, that in answer to Phil's question, the answer is yes, we will have it in the town hall, and we will find an appropriate place to put it.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think we can all find a place where we'll all agree to it being the right place for it. and leave it at that. And that's the question answered.
Can
isn't it?
somebody propose that? then?
I'll-
Yes, Brian.
We made earlier noises about replacing it down by foliage. Do we decide against that?
I took advice. It's actually the committee that I chair, which is the Climate Emergency Working Group, that this comes from. And I asked officers to look into it. I asked them to look into covert CCTV, etc., etc. And it was a really professional job. I think they just felt that it would just go again.
Okay, so we've had a proposal and a seconder. Are we all happy that Tony Greaves' memorial will come into this building? Howard? Yeah. Let's keep that using a pen. Item 11 is signs promoting Cone in other towns. Is that you, Sarah? Signs promoting Cone in other towns.
This was something that came at the last Cone Area Committee, and we were quite surprised because we were talking about those kinds of signs that businesses have, you know, come and stop me and buy one, you know, you can be tanned, you can do gliding, whatever, the signs that are obviously illegal around our town. And we were talking about them with Neil Watson. And I said, so for example, there's that one that says, visit, we were talking about taking them down. And I said, there's that one on Vivery Way that says, come to Barnoldswick, or whatever it says, come visit Barnoldswick or Barnoldswick. And he said, that's an exception. I'm looking at the others that were there at this meeting. That's an exception. It was put up by the town council. And as a result, we, Pendle Council, can't take it down. So I thought, this is quite an interesting one, because potentially then, if we're the town council, we could, I'm not suggesting we go mad with this, I'm not, but we could think about this, perhaps working with the Cone bid to sort of market Cone, come to Cone, whatever, in other towns. The Cone bid can't put them up, that would be illegal, but weirdly, the town council can. And we only learnt that last month.
You got, you want to ask any more?
Can I clarify that a little bit, Chairman? Neil Watson might think the town council put it up, but this town council didn't. So whichever town council put it up, I don't know. But I, along with other members sat in this room, have been on this town council. Well, you would think that if Cone Town Council or any town council had permission to put a sign up, you would think it would only be in its own parish. Well, I think it's a hiding to nothing in a sense, because if you're an area that's prospering fairly well compared to others, and you have a general principle of everyone putting signs up in other areas trying to promote their area, being a fairly affluent area compared to some regarding, you know, the town centre, we could lose out on that, seriously lose out, because other parishes could be drawing people away from Cone into there, more so than us drawing them here, because we're doing better than the others now.
I think what is alluding to is if we put a sign up in Briarfield, one in Nelson, or 2 or 3 in Nelson, and a few in Trawden and where have you, the next thing you know, we'll have Briarfield, Nelson, Trawden, Uncle Tom Cobley and all, putting them on spare bits of fencing here. Well, and I'm not, well, I would bow to Neil Watson's interpretation of the laws and rules. The one for Barnwell, I'm sure that's been here for, that seems to have been there forever.
Can't be that prominent because I don't know where it is. Where is it? Oh, yes, they put, and then they put over it like
Yeah, I'm not,
bands on the square and that, don't they?
oh, yeah, but that's not a, I thought you were on about a more permanent.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Liz?
Perhaps we should just put them up in Barn Aldswick then.
Yeah, wow. So do we need to
Well, that's
think
that's
about?
better than a bit of healthy competition, and they have lots of events and we have lots of events.
I mean, I'm looking at Nathan. We have loads of events. We could pick ourselves up all over the place. We could go to the coast and say, "Din Lytham St Anne's, come here." You're just missing out.
Do we need a working or some, you know, something where we need to decide what it involves? Yeah. Is there an appetite for this or not? There's an appetite from Liz, and yes, Alice.
I think if we spoke to the town council in Barn Aldswick and spoke to them about the fact that they've got a sign here that they can promote things from Barn Aldswick, and could we put an appropriate sign in their area, and then you're not sort of just going in with it and it's a bit pro-co.
What other place would you be looking at? 'Cause you mentioned Lytham St Anne's.
No, I was just being flippant. I genuinely haven't thought,
No.
but that's why I talked about the bid. I think it would be an interesting marketing perspective. You know, if we just put Ancient Market Town or something like that.
Yeah. But does it, we should go to a committee. Which would be the events? No? Yeah? Events?
Why not, as Alice suggests, why don't we just write to Barn Aldswick and say, you've got a sign in our town, we'd like a sign in yours. Please choose a good
I'd
location.
like to go beyond Barn Aldswick.
We're taking yours down.
Can't.
Well, we'll start off with
We'll put a sign
Barn
right in front of
Aldswick, and we will put it on the events committee. And at the events committee, we'll decide whether to write to Barn Aldswick. And yes, Pat.
Oh, it's not working, never mind. If they didn't ask us if they could put that sign up, why do we need to ask them?
Because we're more.
I knew you were going to say that, but the thing is, if they don't need to ask us and it's okay anyway, then why can't we just do it? That's a busy road down there when it's moving.
Yes.
You know, it's best place to put it. If we find their busiest road and just plonk one there, that's fair.
It is. But
Asking them might get a no for an answer.
Brian,
In which case, what do we do then?
well, we'll have to
Oh,
negotiate.
there's out.
Brian,
I think we need to confirm whether it's legal or not, what they've done, whether it's all above board. And I think it's a courtesy to ask Barlick if we can put it in and see what their response is.
yeah. Well, so is everybody happy with that, Brian's proposal? Yeah? Okay. So we're going to ask them if they mind and find out if that's illegal. Legal. Right. Item 12 is the grant request for the bowling club.
Chairman,
Yes.
before you start this one, I don't want to butt in front of Sarah, but before you start this one, with the fan buzzing in everybody's ears over here, and you talking very quietly anyway, I missed the declarations of interest, so I'll have to do it now. Now, I do have a personal interest in the bowling academy, because when they did the arrangements with leasing the pavilion off this council, Colin at the time insisted that we had a nominee on the board of trustees, which is me. But it is not a pecuniary interest, because I have no interest in it at all financially. I don't even use the bowling green as a bowling green. I'm too old for that now. So, as I said, I do have a personal interest. I don't intend to leave the room because it's not a pecuniary one. But I don't intend to speak on it unless someone specifically wants to ask a question about the bid, and I would try and answer it.
Thank you, David. Yes, Sarah, do you have?
I do. I have a real perspective on this because when I first became a councillor, it came in front of Cone Area Committee to get rid of the bowling greens entirely, because children were riding bikes over them. And I spoke against it because I love Crown Green bowling. And it's a big thing in the coast where we're from. Crown Green bowls every few yards. So I said, no, they should be restored. And so I'm a big supporter of Crown Green bowling. And I know that there's a separate lease for, but actually, if you visited the park, you would see it as part and parcel, like the tennis courts, like the mugger, like the secret garden. You'd see it, oh, I've gone to the park and there was bowls, So I actually think that the best budget for this to come out of would be the Alkincoats budget, because if you step right back off it as a member of the public and looked at this, you'd say it's an awful lot of money for something to do scarifying, highly technical, important for bowling, I admit. But I think this is important kit for the park. And I think we should view it as, I know we've leased it, but I think we should view it as our bowling green in essence, because it's part of something that's in our park. And so as a result, I think that it should come out of the Alkincoats budget rather than a special grant.
Thank you. Yes, Alice?
Can I just ask about the project cost? It says that the project cost is 4,314 and the amount requested is 5,100.
Difference is VAT.
No. Is it a machine they wanting to buy? Right. Howard?
Yeah, I think we should grant them the money. The work that they have done there, and the number of volunteers that they have doing it, I think this is a very small price to pay. If we took the view that, it comes out of Alkincoats budget, what does that mean? We're not going to do in Alkincoats. I mean, those, well, I say the people that attended the session on Monday morning to look at the tenders that go out there, or looked through the detail that was sent out to it. The amount of work that wouldn't happen if we took this £5,000 out would have a deleterious effect upon the rest of the goings on in the park. And the whole point of the separate lease and leasing it off was so that they could bring it up to the standard that they have brought it to. And the number of people that use those bowling greens is incredible. I believe there are 9 teams now go on those 2 greens, and I think we should support them. So I will move that we give them this money, and I've forgotten which, and that we take it out of the community development reserve.
Do you want to put an alternative?
Yeah, I think I would like to go for the Alkincoats budget, partly because we did significantly underspend on the Alkincoats budget last year. So obviously we're putting pressure on them to spend the money in the right places and do the right program of work. I think things like a spiker and a what's it called, a slotter, probably have benefits in other parts of the park as well. So, you know, if the greens are busy all the time, I think this kit could be used in other parts of the park even as well. So I think it's got multi-use thing rather than just being used once or twice a week and sitting in a garage somewhere. I think Alkin Coats can use it, and it's only up 13% spent this year so far, and we are 29% of the way through the year. So there's slack in the Alkin Coats budget already. So I would suggest that it comes, definitely grant the money, but just charge it to the Alkin Coats budget.
Do you have a seconder for that? Sarah? So we've got two proposals.
Chairman, can I make a comment before we put it to the vote? And as I've said, I don't intend to vote on it. It seems that in general, you seem to be minded to grant the funding for the application. Can I suggest that, I hope you don't throw something at me, can I suggest that we ask Gina to bring the figures of what cash surpluses there either is or isn't in both of those two budgets, the Alkin Coats one and the community reserve one, to the next FES, and then we will decide at the FES meeting which budget to take it out of. And it might even mean splitting it.
Sarah?
I hope you don't think I'm being awkward, David. Essentially, I do think it's a lot of money to take out of community for what some people would see as a private club, albeit one that's really valuable to Cone. And I just think it's so much part of Alkin Coats. So perhaps your suggestion, where it might even be split, once we've looked at the figures, is just the best one.
I will just say though, because we have been behind in the office, the purchase orders for the grounds maintenance contract for the rest of the year has only gone in today. So it won't be showing on these papers.
So does that make a material difference when there's any decisions to be made?
Well, it will do because it's taking up the rest of the year's grounds maintenance budget. So it will have quite a big effect on what is surplus and what is left to be spent.
Chair, for the sake of a fortnight, is it a fortnight? Maybe 3 weeks, whatever it, whenever the next FES is on the 5th of August, is it? Well, for the sake of a fortnight, I'm happy to go along with that. But, you know, if we start saying, oh, stuff should come out of this budget and that budget, there are other grants that have been given by the town council, and you know there are arguments to be made always that body X or body Y should be funding that, and it shouldn't be us. So you know, let's not get precious about what should come out of Alkin Coats, and because they do, you only have to go there on a Saturday morning to see the number of people that are using those greens for literally learning how to play bowls, and the ages range from well less than I know for definite they range from 6 to 70 odd, because I've seen those people there. So there is a great community use that goes on there.
Brian?
I don't want to say anything about which budget it comes from, but I think it is a specialist piece of equipment actually, which is solely for use on either crown green bowls or cricket squares for tying and spiking.
So you're saying that it wouldn't necessarily be helpful for the rest of the park? Is that?
I don't think the rest of the park will have any use for it.
Right. Okay. Well, are you happy that it goes to FES and we'll have the money there and we'll look at the budgets? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. The Cone Neighbourhood Plan.
Gina and I are not in the position that we wish we were in. We've had stress, I think it's fair to say. So last time when I brought you up to date, I was telling you all about the health check that we'd had and our response to the health check and how we were very much hoping to present everything to you tonight. And we're not in that position because we want to get it right. We're so close to getting it right. We want to be certain. So first of all, I would like to move that we pass the SEA and HRA screening. You saw that over a week ago and you've seen some small tweaks. And again, more tiny tweaks, and I apologise, to the non-designated heritage assets. That was caused by me. And then David noticed a page break was wrong. So the more we look at it, it's always true to say, the more you look at it, the more you see. So first of all, I'd like to move that, if somebody would second it. Brian seconding it. So
all in favour? That's for the Colne SEA, HRA.
So that's 2 bits over the line, and then we've got 3 bits. So we've got the main plan, which I haven't read again for ages and had changed quite significantly as a result of the health check and other things. As you know, there's been changes to the National Planning Policy Framework in 2021. So there was rewritten policy. The policies remain the same, but they're sort of rewritten. So there's that. And then there's this thing called the basic conditions. And the basic conditions is like a massive form where you ask yourself questions of, do you comply to this? Do you comply to that? So those two are sort of wedded together. It would be foolish to split them. We think we're basically there with the basic conditions. It's a very important document, but it's a last minute thing that comes with the final iteration of the plan. And then the other thing is a whacking great document, which is our consultation over 6 years. So it's every Zoom call, every time we've been to the cricket club, yeah, it's just been, there it is. So that's what everybody's written to us over all this time. And what they've written to us, we also, if you remember, consulted on the last time at Regulation 14. So all of that comes again, plus on top, everything since Regulation 14 as well. So it's just a whacking great thing of what people think. And then there's a column that says, yes, we're doing this, or we're not doing this, or we thank you for your comments, or whatever. So it shows the planning inspector that we have consulted, including on the design code. We've got people who are interested. They've put their 2 penneth in. Quite often we've acted on their 2 penneth, or if we haven't, we've justified why we haven't. And so that's a massive document. I mean, altogether, if Gina were to print everything out now, I'm thinking it's a stack. It's a stack. We're going to drive it to Nelson. So we are very much hoping that those things, which are now at the final tweaks, will come forward soon. I've had a chat with Gina, and I know she hasn't had a chat with you, but we've had a chat. And if it comes forward very quickly, what I'd like to do, because you can understand that I'm so keen to get it off my desk and to get it onto Neil Watson's desk. What I'd like to do is to have a 30-minute neighbourhood plan advisory committee meeting, half an hour before a very short, extraordinary full council, if this plays out this way, and then we have finished it. So
have you got any time scale that you think it'll be?
We haven't. We do think that we will have finished it this week, don't we, Gina? And on that case, then perhaps we're looking at next week. Okay. No, I wasn't thinking about Tuesday. I'll go on any day. Doesn't matter. Yeah. I know I'm not hardly doing anything next week apart from Grand Prix. So, but I hope that, you know, you've been with me on the journey, even those that haven't been in the advisory committee, and you understand what a big deal this is.
I've been reading it, yeah.
It is a big deal, isn't it? And actually, when you read the comments of people who they've given their, you can see their heart and soul in it. They tell us about places that we hadn't considered, or they tell us about things, and it's lovely. And it is the sort of authentic voice of Coners.
So for those that we can do tonight, can we have a proposer? Yeah. Yeah. A seconder then? Brian, yes. All those in favour then? Yeah. Thank you. That's done.
I think just one plea as well. What we've got is, for those 3 documents that remain, we've got a series of extra comments that have already been passed to Michael and Kirkwells to process. So if you have any other comments and changes, as I say, we've got a selection of them. We've got a bunch of track changes. He sent a PDF at one point, so that one that's got the tracked with changes, one that's already there. Again, we've got some changes there. The other big change we had to reflect was obviously Pendle's local plan part 2 being shelved and them having to start again. So what's our housing target? So that's a challenge. Well, what is our housing target? You know, and the guidance we got from Neil Watson was to go back to basically the only published thing there is, which is the original core strategy, which has the 298 in it. And that leaves us with our target of 952, adjusted after the empty homes being reoccupied. With that, though, as part of the local plan part 2, if you remember, that had a housing allowance of 240, there was a big table published which gave an updated figure base as at March 2020. And our target then was 1. So that's excellent. So our portfolio of sites unchanged is 147. And that means that we can still meet that. But it's all about explaining that in CNDP 6 in the document. So as I say, if you've got any other comments, whatever, feed them in ASAP, and then we can get them all done at one go. And then we can then bring it back in a week or a week and a bit, and then hey presto.
So,
I am incredibly grateful to anybody who will read all of this and put in commas or notice that there's too many spaces or there's a page with nothing on it, or because obviously we keep reading it. So many pairs of eyes. You're not annoying me by sending lists of tweaks. I'm begging you to please look at it so that we get the best that we can do at this stage.
thank you. Okay.
If we are going down those lines and we have an extra meeting, I know it's difficult to know exactly when you will have finished it, but because there is a certain notice to give for an extraordinary meeting of the council, are we going to try and fix a date sooner rather than later?
You mean tonight?
Well, can we fix one? I don't know whether we can fix one tonight. I don't know.
No. To make it legal, it's about 7 days or 4 days at least. I don't know.
I think it's actually fine.
Yeah. There's something on Wednesday. Is what? We can't have it on Wednesday. There's a disco. Oh, well, there we go. Yeah. Which ones are doing that one? Is there another one that's been doing? Which one is that? That one. So it's yeah. Oh dear. Pardon? No, no, not for me. Right, it's all right by me. What is it? What date? Yeah. I'm just looking. Howard, okay. Have I got anything on that date, Howard? No, oh, well, that's okay then. My diarist. Right. Is everybody all right with that? Have we got that date, 6 o'clock, 2nd of August, for a special extraordinary meeting? Hopefully it'll go ahead, but if not, they'll tell us. Right. Can we go on to the planning list now? Wait till they've got it in the diaries. Application, first application is 22/0384/RTD. It's Wilson House, 2 Dockery Street, Colne. Anybody, any issues? Yes? Howard?
The county council have no objection on highways grounds, and they say that there's parking near enough and there's a bus stop outside and all the rest of it.
Which is Dockery? Which is?
It's Tom Wilson's. Well, it's
Tom
not Tom
Wilson's,
Wilson's.
yeah.
It's Turkish Barber 2 or whatever it is. It's the Turkish. Yeah, it used to be when it was Tom Wilson's. They used to sell they used to wholesale cigarettes and things upstairs.
So are we okay then?
I would say that it's this. No comment.
Are we happy with no comment?
And the plan doesn't show anything, so.
Yeah, all right, no comment. Thank you. The next one is 22/0381/AGD. That's Pendle Plant Nursery at Birchenley, Colne. Anybody, any issues on that? Yes, Sarah?
There's nothing we can do. It's class Q, but I mean, just look at it. It's like a nuclear bunker. You know, I just think this class Q is a terrible thing because it doesn't foster good design. You know, the roof slope is wrong, materials are wrong. It's in a rural location. I can see why it was brought in to reuse redundant agricultural buildings. But if that's the outturn, and we're seeing this all over Pendle, how disappointing. There's nothing we can do.
Chair, I'd just like to correct Sarah. If it was like a nuclear bunker, we wouldn't see it. But yeah, it's horrible. It's a. I can't imagine why anybody would want to live in it. It'd rattle and what have you when it. You know, it's a.
It's like a tin
roof. Yeah, it's not tin, but it's whatever.
Right,
but
shall we?
As Sarah says, it's hoist by the government's own petard.
Yeah. Item 3, 22/0406/C That's the housing off Harrison Drive. Yes, David?
Chairman, I don't specifically have any problems with it. All they're asking for is for ratification that some of the work that they have done or are proposing doing meets the request that was the conditions that was in the original planning application. And one of them is to do with the flood authority. The other is to do with Lancashire County Council regarding the street lighting. And I think we're better off just leaving it to them, because if it's acceptable to them, it's acceptable to them, and that's it. It would be passed.
Thank you.
And approved.
Okay, so are we saying no comment? Yes, thank you. The next one's 22/0387/HHO. It's 35 Stanroyd Drive, Colne. single story extension to rear and insertion of roof lights. Any comments? No? No, right, good, doing well. Right, right. 22/0414/RTD, Yip Properties, the exchange Spring Lane Cone, conversion of building to 11 flats. Sarah?
I think we should actively welcome this. I think it's quite a nice design and it's a beautiful building. It's a lovely sort of Lutyens-esque Edwardian building. It was the former labour exchange for Cone, and it has fallen into disrepair to the point whereby I was going to suggest it went on a grot spot list. So it solves a problem in an area, there's investment in the area, there's densification within the settlement boundary, an extra 11 flats in Cone that isn't eating up our green fields. Essentially, what's not to like about this? It should be welcomed.
Right, yes, Howard.
I think one thing not to like are the UPVC windows that they're putting in it. Well, just because it's not a conservation area doesn't mean that we have to agree that they can put they can put can't say it. And the county object with their flood hat on that there's nothing in about surface drainage and so on. The design might be fine on the outside, which it is, but the apartments inside it are very pokey, I think is the right word. They are quite they're quite small. They are many of them are less than 50 square meters, which is not very big. And I am worried that it may cause parking problems. But having said that, other than I think the windows ought not to be white PVC. That should at least we should ask for brown. I can't see what grounds to turn it down. I'd say I think we should ask them, I just think that the layouts of them are very, very, I think the only word I can say is pokey. They're tiny, some of them.
Is that a planning reason?
Well, I think that's building control and what have you. And
I know the bathrooms are minute.
yes, the bathrooms are less than 4 square meters on the two I looked at. So the building may look fine from the outside, but on the inside, I don't think it is as good. So I think we should make those comments. I don't feel that I can support it wholeheartedly, and it's wonderful because it isn't.
Pat?
Rent or buy those flats with that combination across the wall. Because I wouldn't like to go there. I wouldn't like to look through my window and see the old school house.
Which old school?
Falling down.
So, Spring Lane.
Oh, yes, wrong building. I can't see all.
Yeah. So, is there any support for mentioning that we're disappointed that it's PVC windows? Sarah?
We haven't got a leg to stand on with the UPVC windows. I'm on record as not being their largest fan, fan on cue. But it's not a conservation area. There's nothing we could do. We can't insist upon it. And I think that brown would be entirely stylistically the wrong choice for this building. Yeah, I'd love to see Crittall windows going in, but not in this location. We can't insist
What
on
about
it.
the size?
The size of the windows?
No.
Of the
actually,
flats.
yeah.
Well, I mean, we're the town council. We can make these comments if we feel it. Yes, we can. I don't think you could potentially, I'm looking at David, say this at Cone Area because they'd say it is what it is. They comply. And it's those of you who will remember where we tried to say that the flats were too small at the gables. We lost on appeal.
Are you proposing that that we put some comments in on those?
Well, and there are also several objections, there are at least 3 from local residents who object strongly to it.
Any other comments? Can you get a seconder for your proposal? Alice. So Howard wants to put in the comments.
The layout, I just think that they're too small. There will be concerns about parking. I accept the point that probably there's nothing we can do about the windows, but maybe we ask Pendle to ask for samples before they finally do it, which they normally do anyway, I think.
So I've got a proposal that we put comments on that there'll be concerns about parking and the side of the apartments and the windows using BBC. So can I ask if anybody wants to vote for that, please? So there's only, and those against? Thank you. That's lost. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So Howard put a proposal in that to put a comment in for the planning application that there might be these concerns because residents have put a concern about parking and well I can't move this, you see. And that they're very small and that to ask about the samples that they're going to use for the windows. I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 anyway, so it's lost anyway. So can we put those comments in? Yeah, I've got it written down anyway. Right. Item 220434 BGT. Oh, is it? Is it? It's the. Invalid application.
I think if I think some of it may. I think some of it may. I'm going to come to Cone Area next time and heckle. The existing store was put there without permission, so I suspect it's all tied up with that. That you know, the plans say to replace something that technically isn't there. It will get a bit murky.
Right. Okay, so we don't have to make a decision on that. 220422/FUL. It's the same building, the Exchange Spring Lane, insertion of 3 roof lights and 8 dormers to roof. So we think it looks all right, don't we, outside? Yeah, so no comment on that then. Just 22/0397/HHO, 1 Bents, Skipton Old Road, Colne. Demolition of garage and erection of single-storey side extension. This must be one of the oldest cottages in Colne, isn't it? It must be one of the really
Yeah,
old
sorry,
ones
I
down at the
realised now.
bottom. Yeah.
This has quite an amusing design and access statement, because what you've got there at the moment is a really nondescript garage, and then they've written sort of lovely words saying things like using the same materials as the ancient cottage, emulating it in every way, and then they put fiberglass flat roof, and you think, oh no, wait a minute. So I think my main problem isn't with the stone, isn't with the fact that actually probably it wouldn't look slightly better than what's there at the moment, which wouldn't pass today in a conservation area. It's the fiberglass flat roof. And I brought that to the attention of the planning officer and advised her that if she's minded to approve it, then I'm minded to call it in.
So we put that we don't agree with the flat roof in fiberglass. Howard?
Apart from the words that the county didn't object to the loss of the garage, the only other 2 words I wrote on my little piece of paper was flat roof. Ugh.
Spent all afternoon looking at these. So yeah, we're against having the flat roof. The last one, it's a new one, is 22/0224/FUL. It's Colne Dramatic Society, the Little Theatre. It's erection of a single-storey extension to provide foyer and toilet facilities. And it came before, but it's now changed, hasn't it? Yes. Sarah, do you want to fill us in on
So
that?
essentially, this is the money from the Levelling Up Fund for the Little Theatre, and they've got about £300,000. And we saw the designs last time, and I think pedestrian would be kind words that didn't serve the building very well at all. And it was featured K-render very prominently on the facade. The architect said that obviously he had 2 choices that he put in front of the committee at the Little Theatre, which was to try to emulate the building in terms of stone and fenestration and put a heritage extension, or to go super modern and to put a glass, and here you can see very sort of sleek ashlar stone facade. And I felt at the time that whichever they plumped for, as long as it was a good design, would work. What didn't work was that curate's egg that was neither one thing nor the other that we saw last month. So I'm pleased to see it. I think that this will look very smart indeed for the Little Theatre.
Anybody else, any comments? No? Do you want us to put it will look smart indeed? Oh, no comment, Elizabeth. Yeah. Right. A modern flat roof, but not fiberglass or not. Right. The next item is correspondence received. Do we have any correspondence? No? No? Right. Any items for a future month's agenda? Yes, Sarah.
Just very briefly, we had last time the bus shelter audit. I wonder whether that can be brought to us so that we can see all our peachiest bus shelters throughout Colne. Second thing is, I wonder whether you'd like a little update on Gib Hill, because we had a meeting last week. Ash is chairman of the Gib Hill committee. I'm also on it. I don't know whether you want to hear from me or from him.
Either. Well, a quick, I mean, it's not on the agenda.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Well, it was a little bit of news update along the lines of the Gib Hill update, really, which is that today we drove to Preston and signed the lease on the Byron Road Colne Youth Action Group building. And also for a future meeting, I'd be really grateful to have an Alkin Coates update in terms of the secret garden, you know, what happened next.
So the SEAG and Alkin Courts, yeah. Okay. The next item is Blues Festival. We had a meeting with, yeah, the private bit, yeah, because if any, we can't speak about figures and things. So can you leave us, Ash? Thank you.